In the quiet northern city of Chandigarh, a rumor burst through the streets like fire on dry leaves. Someone has thrown the Holy Quran into a well. Within hours, the call to prayer mixed with cries of grief and fury. Men rushed from shops, women wept from balconies, and within minutes the great mosque's courtyard filled with a sea of trembling hearts. The imam of the city's grand mosque, an elderly scholar known for his calm eyes and steady hands, left his teaching circle and went straight to the scene. There he learned that a few nights earlier a Quran had disappeared from a nearby mosque. Now the same sacred book had been found at the bottom of a village well, its pages soaked and torn. The discovery pierced every believer's soul. Police were already present. They had arrested 3 boys, barely children, ages 6, 8, and 10. Shock rippled through the Wadal crowd. Could such little ones commit such a deed? The imam questioned the officers himself. What emerged was not malice, but childish ignorance. The boys, students at a local school, had a mischievous habit of stealing books from their library, sometimes even sandals from mosques and temples for fun. One afternoon, they found a beautifully bound volume with gilded edges. Without knowing what it was, they hid it under their arms and ran home. When they opened it, strange lines of Arabic shimmered before their eyes. Fear overtook them. "This must be the Muslims' holy book," whispered one. "If they find out, they'll beat us." Panic turned curiosity into guilt. To hide their mistake, they swore a childish oath and threw the Quran into the nearest well, believing the water would bury their fear. But secrets never sleep. Days later, the boys quarreled over a toy, and one blurted out the truth. By evening, the news had spread across Chandigarh. Outrage surged. Anger boiled over in mosques and marketplaces alike. Voices demanded vengeance. The imam understood that the wrong response could turn misunderstanding into civil fire. Gathering his robe, he whispered a prayer. "O Lord, let wisdom stand where rage now rules." And with that, he prepared to face his people. That evening, the great mosque overflowed with emotion. The courtyard was a storm of voices, the sound of sandals against marble, the glint of raised sticks and iron rods. Furious men shouted for vengeance, demanding punishment for the offenders. The imam, however, entered quietly. His presence alone was enough to still a few hearts. His white turban reflected the flicker of oil lamps, and his calm eyes moved over the crowd like a steady flame in wind. He climbed the steps of the pulpit, raised his hand and said, "My brothers, anger is fire, and fire burns even the hand that holds it. If we act in rage, we will destroy what the Quran teaches us: patience and justice." His voice was not loud, yet every corner of the mosque heard it. The air trembled with the weight of his words. Slowly, people began to lower their weapons. He then urged everyone to come with him to the well, where the sacred book had been thrown. The journey was solemn. Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims alike walked together through the narrow lanes, guided by torchlight and sorrow. When they reached the well, silence fell. Only the soft hum of the night wind remained. A young Muslim boy was lowered down by rope, trembling but determined. All eyes watched as he disappeared into the dark water below. Minutes passed like hours, then a cry came, "He has found it!" The crowd surged forward. The boy emerged, drenched, holding the soaked Quran to his chest. Its pages clung together, but its presence alone brought tears to every miss. The imam received it with trembling hands, opened a page, and read aloud, "Indeed, Allah is with those who are patient." The verse echoed into the night like a divine message meant for that moment. Even the Sikh and Hindu elders bowed their heads, moved by the sanctity of the scene. Then the parents of the 3 boys stepped forward. Their faces were pale, their voices shaking as they begged forgiveness. The imam listened silently, then said softly, "Bring the panchayat of your people. Let your elders come. We will speak, not fight." By nightfall, 10 respected men from each community had arrived, forming a ring of anxious faces under the pale moonlight, ready to hear what the imam would decide. The elders from every community gathered that night, sitting cross-legged beneath hanging lanterns in the mosque's courtyard. The imam rose slowly. His robe brushed against the marble floor as he faced them. "My friends," he began, "our anger is loud, but the truth whispers. The Quran is not the property of one people. It is a message for every human soul. It speaks of mercy, of patience, of forgiveness." He paused and looked toward the Sikh delegation. "You also have verses in your books praising the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Your Guru Nanak saw the same divine light. Did he not travel to Makkah? Did he not say that one who turns away from truth will face loss? Then how can we, who read the same words of peace, meet hatred with hatred? A quiet murmur spread through the crowd. Many eyes filled with tears. The Imam continued, his voice deep and deliberate. If we believe that this fire can be quenched with more fire, then we will only turn our city into ashes. But if we pour the water of love upon it, it will die and give birth to flowers. The Sikh elders exchanged glances. Their leader, Sardar Muhammad Singh, folded his hands and said, Your words are heavy with wisdom. Our Guru taught us never to repay insult with cruelty. If your prophet could forgive even his enemies, we will follow that path today. The Imam then took a step forward and made a decision no one expected. I hand these 3 children over to you, he said to the Sikh council. Do as you believe is right. But remember, if Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stood here, what would he do? He forgave the killer of his own uncle. He turned enemies into brothers. Silence fell. The 3 trembling boys were brought before the gathering. They clung to the Imam's feet, crying, We did not mean to harm the Quran. Please forgive us. The Imam lifted their small faces, wiped their tears, and whispered, You are forgiven. Promise me, never again will you disrespect any holy book, in jest or in ignorance. The children nodded, sobbing. At that moment, the anger that had gripped the entire city began to soften. Hatred melted into humility, and the crowd felt as if the night itself had bowed in peace. The dawn broke with a strange stillness over Chandigarh. Pale light spilled across the domes of the mosque, and the Imam stepped out for the Fajr prayer, but as he approached, he stopped. A large crowd of Muslims stood outside, faces hard, eyes fierce, weapons glinting faintly in the morning light. One man shouted, We heard you were martyred by the Sikhs. We came to avenge your death. The Imam smiled softly. His voice was gentle but firm. Look at me. I stand before you alive. Would you fight over a lie? Would you spill innocent blood when the Quran forbids it? The crowd fell silent, the sound of swords lowering to the ground echoing against the marble. He climbed the steps and continued. The Quran teaches justice, not blind revenge. Yes, the one who insults the Quran or our prophet will face punishment, but by the law of God, not the anger of men. The prophet forgave those who harmed him. He left judgment to Allah. Shall we claim to love him and yet abandon his way? His words sank into their hearts like cool water over fire. Do you accept the Quran's decision? He asked. The crowd answered together, Yes, Imam, we accept it. Then, he said, lay down every weapon you carry. One by one, men placed their blades, sticks, and axes on the ground. The metallic clatter slowly died into silence. The Imam lifted his hands in prayer, and for the first time in days, peace touched the air. Meanwhile, in the Sikh quarter, their panchayat had gathered too. They had prepared themselves for conflict, ready to defend their children. But when they heard that the Imam had chosen forgiveness, shock spread among them. Sardar Muhammad Singh, the same elder who had spoken at the mosque, rose with tears in his eyes. If they can forgive, he said, then so can we. And if this is the character of their prophet, then I wish to follow that prophet. The courtyard gasped as he stepped forward, facing the Imam. Today I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. That morning, as the sun climbed over the rooftops, 20 Sikhs recited the Kalima beside him. The sound of their voices, trembling with sincerity, carried through the streets, a sound of faith born from mercy, not war. That day became a turning point not just for Chandigarh, but for every heart that witnessed it. What could have ended in blood and hatred became a story told for generations, a story of mercy conquering rage. The Imam stood before the crowd once more, his voice filled with calm authority. The morning sun touched the wet pages of the recovered Quran beside him, now resting gently on a white cloth. He raised his hand and spoke. My brothers and sisters, today Allah has tested our hearts. Had we chosen anger, we would have lost our humanity. But by choosing patience, we have followed the path of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the path that turns enemies into brothers. He looked toward the Sikh elders, who now stood with heads bowed in respect, and toward the Muslims who had laid their weapons down. The air was thick with awe. No one spoke, but tears flowed freely. The Imam continued, Remember this forever. Punishment belongs to law, not emotion. When anyone insults the Prophet or disrespects the Quran, they will face divine justice. But we are commanded to respond with wisdom, not vengeance. The one who kills in anger does not defend the Quran. He only weakens its message. A deep silence followed his words, broken only by the chirping of birds awakening to a peaceful dawn. The Imam then called the three children forward. They stood trembling, their eyes red from crying. He placed his hand over their heads. "Children," he said softly, "from your mistake, the world has learned a lesson. Never again treat any holy book with disrespect. All revelation is light. Let this memory stay with you as long as you live." The boys nodded tearfully. The crowd, once burning with fury, now watched them with sympathy instead of hate. What began as a moment of division had become a bridge between faiths. That evening, people of all backgrounds, Muslims, Sikhs, and Hindus, lit lamps outside their homes in gratitude. The story of the Imam's wisdom spread through towns and villages. Many said, "He extinguished fire with love and turned wrath into worship." In the years that followed, the city remembered that day not as the day of insult, but as the day of forgiveness, when patience, compassion, and the light of the Quran transformed chaos into peace and strangers into believers. And so, the Imam's final words lived on. When hearts hold the Quran, no hand can harm it. For its true strength lies not in paper and ink, but in mercy, justice, and love.